Good evening, viewers, and welcome to another Live in Laois programme. I'm delighted to be joined by former Laois hurler, Laois selector, and Laois manager, Ricky Cashin. Ricky, how are you this evening?
Great, John. Thanks for the invite.
I'm delighted to have you on. It's been a whirlwind week for Laois hurling. Have you any big takeaways from the week?
Um, Look, I think it's an unfortunate situation that happened. I feel sorry for everybody involved on both sides. Um, I suppose maybe there's light at the end of the tunnel. Maybe it's a blessing in disguise. Hopefully, that's something good will come out of it. I think there's a big meeting this week, so as I say, hopefully something positive comes out of that meeting. I think people just need to kind of brush a lot of stuff that was said one side and look at the overall, the big picture kind of thing for the sake of Laois hurling and pride and all that stuff, kind of push it one side, and maybe something good will come out of it,
Absolutely. And just to make it clear to the viewers, we did invite the county board to have a representative or representatives on our talk show this evening. There was no one available, so that's fine. Obviously, with the meeting coming up, they obviously have a bigger fish to fry, so to speak. But and it was unfortunate, the two current county board officers were named in this off the record chat.
Yeah,
which is,
I think it's an important point to make, like that. I've been critical down through the years with Laois County boards. I was involved as a player, selector, a county under-21 manager for 3 years, and I've had my arguments with them and this and the other. But at the same time, like as years go on, you get a bit older, you maybe get a little bit more sense or something. I can understand, like all these jobs, most of them are all voluntary. People are putting their time into this voluntary,
yes.
And their jobs, a lot of them are jobs that very few people would do or want to do. And like, it's important to mention that. And these people are putting in their time, and they deserve great credit. And I feel sorry for them, to be honest with you, that happened.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? It shouldn't have happened, maybe, but
it
did, and we may just try and move on. But I just want to say that, like, that a lot of credit needs to go to these people that are putting in their time voluntary to do all these jobs at county board level. Absolutely, it's not easy, like. No, and their jobs as well, John, like that are not easy, because they're trying to please a lot of people, and you can't please everybody all the time. You know what I mean? So that's important to say as well.
Yes. But my big takeaway now, it's unfortunate the way it's come out, and the off the record conversation that was broadcast and all that. But my big takeaway from it was Eddie Brennan. He's just frustrated. I just got this sense of frustration that there isn't more ambition there. There isn't a vision. And when I say a vision, like by 2030, Ricky, like you've been there, you know what it takes to compete at that level. Where do you want Laois hurling to be?
I was just thinking about that one. Like, I mean, Eddie Brennan's comments and remarks, like every Laois manager for the past 30 years could give testament to exactly what Eddie Brennan was saying. The frustrations and all that kind of stuff that was coming out in him. Every Laois manager over that length of time could probably convey the very same kind of a message. Do you know what I mean? So in one sense, it probably hasn't changed. Yeah, and maybe it's after coming to a head now. Maybe this is the time that there is going to be a change, and hopefully that's what will happen. But like, I mean, going back through the years, John, like in my time, like football was probably going a little bit better than it was now. And like all those hurling people would have thought like that hurling was playing second fiddle to the football, that they were kind of getting a little bit of preferential treatment and this, that, and the other. And maybe it was only us, maybe they weren't, but we felt that. But there was always kind of a battle there to get stuff. I mean, I can remember as a player getting the week before a Leinster senior hurling semi-final, we had no socks and togs. So we were going to go to Croke Park for a Leinster semi-final with different colour socks. And a selector at the time bought the kit, the socks first. Do you know what I mean? So, like, when you think back that time and where it is now, it probably has come on a long way as well.
Yes.
But at the same time, to the level of the top counties, they're probably a little bit behind. So it's relevant in that respect. Do you know what I mean? But like, so it wasn't all rosy in the garden, like back down through the years either. Like,
Yes.
which is an important point.
Absolutely, important point. But you're looking over the fence, so to speak, and the football field in the county looks greener, or has looked greener to the football the hurling folk in Laois. But I mean, as a blow-in, I'm only in the county 20 years. I remember the 81 game against Offaly. Pádraig Horan scored the ghost goal, a goal that never was.
Mm-hmm.
Offaly went on and recorded their very first senior All Ireland hurling championship that year.
Yeah.
I look at the roll of honour, and I say it to people, and people laugh, but I said, I look at the All Ireland roll of honour. I see Offaly there up in 1981. It should have been Laois.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was chances even after 81, 86
Correct.
maybe, and then
86.
into the 90s, there was multiple opportunities there that we just didn't get over the line.
Correct.
If we had to get over the line, what would have happened? Who knows? Nobody knows.
Correct.
Offaly kicked on. Would we have kicked on, or would the team of the 80s kicked on? Who knows? But look, if you had to get over the line, yes, you'd imagine. I think I read something there that Niall Rigney wrote there a while ago. Like, he was saying the same, that if we had to get maybe over the line in one or two of those games, he felt like that we would have kicked on. I think he is possibly right.
Yes.
But unfortunately we didn't. So that's the way it was,
Yeah, I think that was Niall's piece in the Irish Examiner.
Yeah, could have been, yeah.
And that actually was a very, very good piece, because it went through your team, Ricky, the team you played on in the 1990s. 93, Tony Dunn should have scored a goal.
Yeah, yeah.
There's obviously 96, you bet Kilkenny in the league quarter final. That was one of the good days.
Yeah.
95, I'm pretty sure now you left it behind you. I have the list there. Yeah, you're basically... Finn Clawler had a chance for a goal.
That's right, yeah.
It was a great stop. It was
yeah,
a great goal.
That's right, yeah.
And it was actually Joe. It was a standing goal. It was Joe Dermody.
Joe Dermody, that's right, yeah. That's right.
Joe was in goals. And
yeah.
Like, looking from afar, I expected, like, obviously going back to the 80s team, you're in the Centenary Cup final.
Yeah.
And I was looking, and I expected Laois to kick on because the hurlers were there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, as I say, look at me. We just didn't get the breakthrough, and that was the unfortunate thing. It just, the break didn't happen. So we never kicked on because of that. So Offaly did, obviously, and they won their All Irelands. But look at where they are now too, which is another argument. Like, but that brings up a whole new argument, actually. Like what happens counties like Offaly and Laois, but Offaly with their success. And I see they were beaten today by Down in the Christie Ring,
Christie Ring.
So, like, I think, to be honest with you, John, it all boils down to, like, you can talk about Eddie Brennan. Like, Eddie Brennan has a job to do, but he's in the here and now.
Yes.
Like, Eddie Brennan's job, and fair dues to him, his job is to get the performance out of the team today.
Yes.
And next Sunday.
Yes.
But Eddie Brennan will probably be gone in a year or two anyway. Right?
Yeah, that's the nature of the beast.
That's the nature of the sport. Yes. As of a lot of the current players will retire after a few years. But what's important to me is, and I see comments there going just all the week there about, look at thinking outside the box. Keep on, Eddie Brennan. Think outside the box for the future of Laois hurling. But to me, thinking outside the box in Laois hurling would be going back to the grassroots. Because if you want to compete at the top level, but if you want to stay competing at the top level, you have to keep bringing the players through from behind, and the quality players. And hurling is so elitist now. I mean, the game is such a high standard now that it's become very elitist.
Yes.
There's only a very few players now can tick all the boxes, the criteria that's needed to be a top player now. So unfortunately, because of that, it's a numbers game.
Yes.
So to me, what needs to be done, thinking outside the box, and they're talking about resources, this, that, and the other. To me, they need to put more resources into this grassroots, which would be the national schools and the small kids in clubs.
Yes.
And I spent 6 years in school in St. Kieran's, Kilkenny, and I worked down there for a few years. And I know for a fact that's where they have tread and bred their success from, is the grassroots.
Yes.
And to me, if you want to future-proof Laois hurling, get them competing and keep them competing, there's only one answer. And it's not Eddie Brennan, unfortunately. It's the grassroots.
Right.
Unless you get Eddie Brennan to go around teaching all the kids in school, it's great. Do you know what I mean? It'd be great to have somebody like Eddie Brennan doing it, but that's the reality of it. Right. Like, Eddie Brennan is in the here and now, and Eddie Brennan has a job to do and is doing a very, very good job, may I add.
Yes.
But unfortunately, there's a lot more to it than that, because you have to keep the wheel stays turning, and you have to keep producing them.
Yes.
If you want to stay at the top level, you know.
So yeah, looking at that and looking at the Laois conveyor belt into the future, let's say into the next decade, like I have a quote from you there, like your concern, one of your big concerns is hurling in the schools here, like secondary schools.
Well, I would say national schools even more so, John.
Really?
Yeah, because that's where the kids are. That's where they develop their skills at that age, from 5 or whatever up to 8 and 10 and 12, before they go to secondary school. Because I know in Kilkenny, that's where the coaching is done. That's where the main, all the skills are developed at that age. And once they get into secondary school, the first year, they're almost ready-made hurlers, just to be developed their skate, their physique and everything else. But they're ready-made hurlers. That's the way it was in Kieran's when I was there, and I played in Kieran's for 5 years. That's the way it was. The likes of DJ Carey, Charlie Carter, all these guys, they all came in first year, but they were ready-made hurlers, like,
ready-made,
because the job was done at national school.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the grassroots I'm talking about. They came from that. Now, to me, and they can tell you what they like, but to me, that's not the case in this county. Right. Because I know for a fact that big schools and this national schools, and my own son went to Mount Mellick National School, and I'm not. Yeah. It's not. I'm not criticizing anybody involved. Just probably maybe there's reasons that I don't know why there's no hurling, but there's no hurling in that school, and it's one of the biggest schools in the county by school. Do you know what I mean? So where do you go from there, like?
Right. So you're saying there are black spots among the schools, the primary schools.
Absolutely, like, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean,
I just look. I don't have all the facts in front of me but I'd be very surprised if the coaching in the national schools in general in Laois is up to a standard of a Kilkenny or any of those traditional counties, big counties, hurling counties. I'd be very surprised. I'm almost certain they're not. Because I dropped my own son down to school here for all the years down he was in national school, and I never once seen a young fella going into the school with a hurl. Not once. Not once, John.
Right. So
that's the third biggest spy school in the county.
Yeah. So the alarm bell should be ringing.
To me, that's where it starts, John.
Yeah.
You know, now maybe this is not the conversation you had hoped for. I don't know.
No. But this is, I mean, because people can say, okay, well, this guy is the savior and that guy is the savior. And obviously Eddie is doing a great job. But as you say, the nature of the whole business is he'll be gone to another county within a couple of years.
That's the nature of the business, is that you're a manager for 2 or 3 years and you do the business or you don't and you move on. That's the nature of it. Do you know what I mean? So Eddie is in, as I say, in the here and now. But the future-proof it, like as you said, the conveyor belt to keep that going. It's the grassroots is the only thing that's going to keep that going. You know. So and to me, that's where the resources should be going, John.
Okay, so you need more and better coaches in primary schools.
Certainly need more in it. Yes. Just the resources need to go into the national schools and the clubs at very small under 8s and this and 10s and that level.
Yes. And looking around the county, I mean, again, I'm only in the county 20 years, and I mean, it struck me Mountrat, okay, with a relatively big catchment area, should be stronger in hurling, not Mellick. Now, I know it's not fair to pick out individual clubs, but I mean, for bigger towns, sizable towns, they should be punching way above what they're punching at the moment.
Absolutely, and why are they not punching above there? Why are they not competing? It's because they're not bringing the kids through. That's why. And there's reasons there for it. I don't know about it. You don't know about. But whatever the reasons are, they're not there, and that's it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like they're not. The kids are not being encouraged to play, or they're not. Whatever the problem is, but that's the conveyor belt.
That's the conveyor belt.
And the conveyor belt is either going to work or it's not. End the story. Yeah. You know, and that's why the Kilkennys, the Tips, the Corks, Galways, all the big traditional counties, that's why they're competitive all the time, because they have under 16 minor under 21 teams coming through all the time. And then they lose 1 or 2 senior guys every year, and there's 1 or 2 lads ready to just fall into their place, ready-made hurlers, because they've done it up along.
Yes. Yeah, but when you say that, I mean, people have this thing about stronger counties in their heads. So people would place, say, Dublin and Waterford above Laois in the hurling pecking order. Dublin haven't won an All-Ireland since the 1930s. Waterford have gone 60 years without an All-Ireland.
Yeah.
I mean, Tip, I unfortunately, during my teenage years, I basically, your summer was over after one game. Inevitably, Tip, we were beaten. First round,
Yeah.
first round, first round, first round.
Yeah.
So, I mean, people have to see that this happens to even the strongest counties. Like we went from 71 to 89, we won
Yeah.
nothing. Well,
Yeah. Sure. Look.
We won the Munster in '87. That was a
Oh, it
breakthrough.
happens. Yeah, it happens, and the fact that it happens to those counties is testament to the fact that you have to keep the work that has to be done so well at grassroots. Sure, look at Tip until 1989. They went through
Yeah.
was it I don't know, 10 or 13 year barren spell or something before that. Was it 8? Was sorry,
18 years.
Was it 18? Was it?
Oh yeah, from 71 to 89 without.
There you go. There you go. Tip. So I mean, when it happens, the likes of Tipperary, a county like that, with the size of it, the population and the tradition. So there you go. That proves it. Like,
but the work wasn't put in, as you quite rightly pointed out. The work wasn't put in the coaching. The coaching.
Yes, I would say so. Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. And I know the same thing happened in Kilkenny there just before Brian Cody came in there. With the lost a few championship games, and I know there was big alarm bells down there, and they brought in all the ex-county players into all the clubs.
Yes,
they had 2 or 3 ex-county players in all the clubs at the grassroots level, and they brought them up along, and they seen the fruits of that as well.
Yeah. Do
you know what I mean?
They didn't take it for granted,
and not at all. No, and I think and I'm not disrespecting Offaly or criticising anybody, but Offaly I think would have took their eye off the ball as well after all the success. I think they probably would have thought, like, we have these group of players there as they had in the 80s and 90s, and they thought the conveyor belt was going to stay going, but it didn't.
It didn't.
No,
it didn't. Like at home, we growing up, you had this raw maish, and it was complete rubbish, Ricky. That you could pick any 15 lads at any crossroads in Tipperary, and they could hurl county and compete, which of course was the height of madness.
That's right.
It doesn't work like that.
Yeah. No, so absolutely not. Yeah.
Tradition can be a hindrance as well.
It can, but I think overall tradition is a big thing, because the traditional counties come to the top like every year, based. You know what I mean? Yes. You have the Wexfors or whatever else the odd time, but it's either a Kilkenny, a Tip, or a Cork, or a Galway, or whatever is going to be at the top of the pile at most years anyway.
Yes.
But look at. I mean, it's not easy, but to me, that's where the resources should be going. And look, I'm not saying that Eddie Brennan is not right in what he's saying. There should be resources put into the county team, absolutely. And the momentum that he has got and produced through hard work in the last couple of years, it's paying off. And absolutely, they should do whatever they can to keep that going. Why? Absolutely, because you definitely don't want to be taking a step back. Because if you take a step back, to take that other step forward again could be take a long time.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But I think that to look outside the box, you need to go back further. You know what I mean? So,
but look,
absolutely. I said that before many times. But look, I mean, some people would tell you, and you'd be led to believe like that is being done in the schools. But I genuinely feel that it's not.
Yeah, I mean, again, here in Portlaoise, where we are, I mean, you don't see too many kids, boys or girls, walking around with their hurleys. Unfortunately.
Yeah. One of the teachers told me in Portlaoise College, which is a secondary school, he only knows of one young fella that plays hurling in that school, and I think there could be 400 or 500 students in that school.
Yeah.
You go to Kilkenny CBS and St. Kieran's, and they're only a stone's throw from each other.
Correct.
There's probably about 300 or 400 young lads in it every day hurling in both of them.
Yes.
That's the difference.
And Callan as well. Callan
as well
would be strong as well.
Yes.
Yeah, that is the difference. So, I mean, with the resources needed, obviously you're pointing that basically we need more coaches in there, coaching more kids. That needs more resources.
Absolutely, yeah.
And what?
No,
go on.
Sorry, John, but I think this conversation has gone beyond a Laois County Board level. I think this has gone to a Crow Park level or a GA headquarters level. To put though, they're after getting, I don't know how many, was it 50 million from the government there recently as well? Like, you know what I mean? Like, why aren't they putting their resources into the grassroots in Laois? I mean, like they have done it in Dublin in the past,
Correct.
and they did get rewards in Dublin to a certain point. You know what I mean? They win under 21 or whatever. But like like Dublin is probably self-sustainable in a way as well because they have a lot of corporate behind them and everything else with the football, so they are self-sustainable. So like they should put the resources down to the other counties across the country, I believe, that wants to try and progress the hurling. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. But also, I mean, we can do things here. I mean, it's crying out for a supporters club.
Mm.
I just can't understand why we don't have a supporters club. In fact, during the week, it's funny. During the week, I always get it every year, my email from the Tipperary Supporters Club.
Yeah.
And I actually posted it there on our Facebook page. And basically, I said, well, I'd love to be getting that this time every year from a Laois Supporters Club. And I'd give my 30, 40, 50 euro, whatever it is a year, to the Supporters Club. And the Supporters Club, obviously, they ring fence that money. There's 50% for the hurling, 50% for the hurling, football and the hurling, all the way down. So there's coaching. We need more coaches, and we need better quality coaching all the way up.
Yeah. And again, like that obviously requires resources and money and whatever else. And I mean, if there was a supporters club there that would raise a few bob for that, absolutely brilliant. Because I remember when Babs was with us in 98 or...
Yeah, 98, yeah.
I remember I think we had a supporters club that time. And I know
Babs would be very good at that.
Absolutely. No, he did get, you remember we had a massive race night and there was a lot of money raised and things like that. You know what I mean? So it can be done. It can be done.
It can be done. I saw it. I mean, for example, Semper Stadium with a huge debt, and the likes of Michael Lowry, John Lonergan, Babs, Christy Roach as well. They'd be four of the people at the forefront of that and cleared the debt. And I mean, it was just an incredible feat in the 1980s when like the economy wasn't going well, to be honest.
Absolutely, yes,
and
absolutely.
It could be done. If it could be done then, definitely can be done now.
Yeah, I think if the will is there, like there's no reason why it can't be done. You know what I mean? Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
No.
So maybe, like as I say, maybe this will be the spark of some of all these things that we're talking, or maybe some of them anyway. You know what I mean? So there could be a silver lining at the end of it all. You know.
I hope so.
Yeah.
And going back now, let's go back to your playing career. I remember 96 against Kilkenny in the league quarter final. You were incredible that day. I mean, you pulled off a save against Charlie Carter. Yeah, it was Charlie. And it was, it was incredible. It's a shame you went on, I think, the next day against Tip. I think you lost by 2 points.
Yeah, Tip beat us in Kilkenny in the league semi-final. I think, what did they beat us by? There might have been only 2 points.
I think it was very close. I mean, they were there. To be fair, they were there for the taking.
I remember that. I remember it was a game that we could have won again. Yeah, like another one that we could have won. But yeah, it was there for the taking. All right, yeah.
Do you think, I mean, is it because the hurlers were there in the 90s in your time and again in the 80s, the previous generation of these hurlers, the hurlers were there. You were good enough. Both teams in both decades were good enough. Is it that lack of tradition or that lack of confidence, or is there an X factor, or is just unlucky?
I don't know. Like some people would say, you make your own luck too, John. You know, I think there might have been a little bit of lack of belief or something, you know. And it's funny now, I was thinking of the Clare match last weekend there, the Laois-Clare match.
Yes.
And it's one thing that struck me, like Laois never led Clare, but still they stayed with him all the way to the end, and Laois ran out of time. They could have beaten him if they had to have a few more minutes. But to me, they showed belief in themselves.
Yes.
And that's one thing that Kilkenny teams would have had down through the years, always. Yes. Whether they're good, bad, or indifferent teams, Kilkenny always believe they can win, and then most often than not, they will win. And Brennan is probably bringing that thing to the table, which is absolutely vital and brilliant to see it. Do you know what I mean? To me, they did hurl, and Clare's performance today, by the way, even cements Laois's performance the weekend before a little bit more.
Correct.
You know, but to me, now you could talk about the technical things and there was errors made, blah, blah. But to me, the most important thing was they did hurl and they seemed to have belief in themselves, which is great to see.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So if you could if Eddie Brennan could remain in his position and maybe progress them technically a little bit more along with that belief. But then you're really going places. Then you're ready to maybe knock one of the top teams off their pedestal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
absolutely. I mean, if you look at the top four, Ricky, I'm looking at the top four in Leinster. So, and Wexford is bracketed in the top four in Leinster, along with Kilkenny, Galway, and
yeah,
Dublin, right?
yeah.
Now, pound for pound, and again, people will say you're raving here. Pound for pound, if you look at that Wexford performance against Clare, okay, Lee
Yeah.
should be beating Wexford.
Well, if you were to look at the two matches now, the today's match and last Saturday's match, you would say you'd put Laois ahead of Wexford on the performance. I know every match is different and every match takes a kind of a life of its own, but performance-wise on the 2 days, you'd say Laois are better than Wexford. Do you know what I mean? And that's the way it is. Now, if Laois played Wexford in the morning, I'm not saying Laois would beat Wexford by 10 points or anything. Do you know what I mean? But at the same time, looking at the performances, like as I say, Laois's performance against Clare last year was admirable. Like, they showed the belief in themselves. They showed and there was individual performances on it that were exceptional. You know, I thought Podge Delaney was exceptional now.
Yes.
And there was a few more in there. Aaron Dunphy, James Keys, 1-1 apiece, Mark Kavanagh. Like, I mean, you could go down through the whole team there.
Yeah.
They were brilliant, you know. And as I say, like, it'd be great now for him to stay on and progress with the guys, you know what I mean? And see, could he bring him to the next level, you know? So hopefully something good will come out of this meeting during the week.
Well, hopefully. And look, casting your eye, 10 years down the road, Ricky, like what would success look like for Laois Hurling?
Yeah, but you see, if you look at the way the game has changed in the last 10 years, and then you apply the same amount of change to the next 10 years, it's very hard to visualize where the game is going. Like, as I said to you, the game has gone so elitist now. Like, I played in the 90s, which is 20 years ago?
Yeah.
It's longer than I care to remember. But look at the difference in the game. Now, I've seen some of the old matches there, and at that time, the likes of Offaly and all those teams, they were super. Yes. But look at them, look at those matches then to the matches now, the difference in the pace, the strength, the skill, every aspect of the game.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying to you. It's gone so elitist. Now, if that level of performance stays going up the way it is in 10 years' time, it's going to become even more elitist, which brings us back to what we're saying. To produce those players of that quality that's able to compete at that level, it's going to be a big ask. And remember, Laois is a very small county divided in two with hurling and football.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So it's a big ask. And that's why I'm saying to you, it's a numbers game to get those to produce players of that quality. Mm-hmm. It's a numbers game, unfortunately, whether we like it or not. And that's where you need to hit the schools hard and get all those kids that have the potential to get it out of them and get them hurling and progress them then on to the next level.
Yes, absolutely. And a couple of wins for the senior team helps the brand. We'll use the modern jargon. And
but
then
sure,
you
look
have
at
kids going around wearing the Laois jerseys.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm sorry, no, but this I can't compute this. I've been here 20 years, Ricky, and I see Laois kids wearing, for example, Kilkenny jerseys.
All the time.
Or it could be in Rathdowney, and not picking on Rathdowney, you could have them wearing Tipperary jerseys.
Yeah.
I just can't get that through my head.
But like at the same time, then, like the old saying, no, success breeds success. It's a true statement. You know what I mean? It does. I mean, that's why Kilkenny kids, there's not a young lad in Kilkenny that doesn't have a hurling in their hand because they're born into winning. They're born. That's, you know what I mean? They're bred into it.
Yes.
But at the same time, you look at around the county after Laois Dublin match last year.
Yes.
And to see it was amazing to see the amount of young lads go around with hurls after that. And that's what you were talking about.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? And that was only one match. So, like, if you could imagine if you won a Leinster final or whatever, you know what I mean?
Yes.
But I think what Laois need to do first, John, is if they could get a minor or under 21 team maybe to win a Leinster, that would be the first step. And that would be, and obviously, a huge step. But to me, you know what I mean, to say that way, okay, we'll win a Leinster in 2 years' time, that's probably a bit, do you know what I mean? To beat a Kilkenny or a Galway to win a Leinster final. But I think what we should be aiming for is to win a minor final.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And breed.
Well, absolutely. You're onto something there because only going back a couple of years, Westmeath and what they did under 21.
Yes.
and they bet Kilkenny.
They did.
I
Yeah,
think
that's what
Eddie.
I'm saying.
Actually, I think Eddie was over that Kilkenny team.
He was. He was indeed. Yeah. Yeah,
And
but
so
look at that. But I mean that's what you're talking about. Like to start off at the minor level, get your team if you could win a Leinster and build it that way. But I mean, imagine what would happen around the county if Laois even won a minor Leinster final as regards young lads out with hurls. Do
be
you know what I
huge.
mean?
It'd be huge.
Huge, like
Oh, it would
that's
be
what you're
huge.
dealing with. That's what you're
So,
dealing
so
with.
you're
Like
saying basically build from the bottom.
I don't think there's any other way of doing it,
Yeah.
John. To be honest with you, I just honestly can't see it. I mean, obviously you're trying to get the best performance and win what you can with your team and the now. Do you know what I mean? But I think to sustain competing at the top level, you're going to have to, as you say, keep the conveyor belt coming with the players coming and the
Absolutely.
quality.
And the
And
quality.
as I say, they're so elitist now. It's such an elitist game now. That conveyor belt is going to be hard and hard to keep going, like because you know what I mean. That they're just so good now. The talent is they're
Yeah, I
just
mean,
unreal.
watching like the Kilkenny Galway
Oh,
game today
yeah,
was,
even in the conditions that we have at the moment, like the level of skill and pace and power, and you know what I mean. So,
yeah,
like
and
that's what you're competing against.
that's
Like,
what you're competing against.
yeah,
And I think Limerick have taken it to another level.
Limerick have taken it to a new level. I mean, look at the size and the strength of those guys and their mobility with along with skill.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
they tick a lot of boxes, those guys, But that's the level that you want to compete at, like,
Yeah, you want to play the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I think the current Laois team are showing that that's what and indeed are doing it. They did it last weekend,
Yes.
but they've proved it like that. That look, we want to play the best. We are playing the best, and we want to stay here. And that's what the whole thing is about.
Absolutely.
That's the most important thing, that they do stay there, that they don't go back.
Yeah, and the focus is on the county team.
Absolutely, yeah.
You do have from time to time here, you have this inter-club rivalry that just goes over the top.
Look, that was always there. But I mean, you would have heard things that happened down through the years in Kilkenny as well with rows and club games like that. But they always had this ability that they could slaughter one another in a club game on a Sunday. They could go out the following Saturday. Once they pull on that jersey, the Kilkenny jersey, that's gone out the window.
Absolutely.
They don't. That's the way they have that ability. I don't know how, but they have it anyway. And so it goes on everywhere. But unfortunately, in Laois, it kind of festers or whatever, like, and and there's no need for it, like,
No.
But I think another important point is too, like as I said, Laois is not one of the bigger hurling counties, like in comparison to Tip or Kilkenny or Cork or any of these places. So it's important that we get all the players in that has the ability to play with the county, and that's the secret, that you get in all your players that have that quality.
And
do you know
look
what
after
I mean?
them.
And look after them. Again, that's probably going into what Eddie Brennan was saying during the week. You know what I mean? That these players need to be looked after, and they should be looked after. They deserve to be looked after.
Absolutely.
Like the commitment that these guys are given nowadays towards what we were doing in our day. Like, I mean, you go in there, you train a couple of nights a week, but like nowadays, I mean, the stuff that they have to do away themselves, apart from the training field, like to keep their physique and the sacrifices that they're making and everything, so they deserve to be looked after, like, and they should be looked after.
Absolutely. I know Eddie in the chat, the off the record chat that was broadcast, he referenced the Wexford setup and what Davy Fitz has done down in Wexford. And even if we had half of that, half of those resources available, it would be great.
Absolutely,
really great.
So, absolutely, and the resources is one thing, John, and then putting the resources where they're needed is the other thing. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have to be very careful that way, like that. Putting the resources where they're needed most, to look after the players, look after the people that you need to look after, and to bring it to the next level. That's the most important thing.
Exactly, and not squander it. I mean,
absolutely.
Eddie again referenced the Kilkenny setup, and if Brian Cody wanted something, he'd go to Ned Buggy, the county.
There you go,
and Ned would grumble, but he'd go and get it if he knew, and he knew deep down it was for the good of the team.
Yeah, but those guys were always well looked after down there. I mean, I remember down there, we played them. We played them in a practice match one time down in Nolan Park on a Wednesday night, and we went into Langton's after. I don't know, we went in for a few pints or whether we went in for something, but they were all in. They were all in eating steak dinners after the match in Langton's. That stuck in my mind. So they're looked after now, but they were always well looked after.
Proper order.
And that's exactly that's the way it should be.
Yeah. So.
And,
Ricky, that's a long Christmas shopping list that we want filled.
It's not a hard one, no, John. In fairness,
it's not. No, it's not really. It's not really.
That's not a big ask, no.
No. Hopefully now, between more coaches and steak dinners and hopefully a minor or under 21 Leinster win and keep the momentum going.
Keep the momentum going, yeah, absolutely, yeah. There is momentum to have, in fairness to Eddie Brennan, to have momentum built up there now. They're on a roll. It'd be a terrible, terrible shame not to keep the momentum going. Because, like, as you say, because that not only for the hurling and the now, that momentum will bring the young lads, encourage the young lads behind them as well. And if you could keep the step up the coaching then with the young lads behind the momentum as well, which will keep the, and then you have your conveyor belt going. That's the secret. That's the secret. Easier said than done, John, unfortunately.
No, it's like anything. It takes a lot of hard work.
It does.
There's nothing easy in life. You have to work for it. But,
absolutely,
yeah. So here, fingers crossed, toes crossed, that the meeting next week will go well. That Eddie's kept on. I mean, it's unfortunate the way it came out.
It is unfortunate, yeah. I don't think there's any winners out of it. You know what I mean? It's just it's a matter of kind of pushing it if we can one side, and make the decisions for the greater good and move on. That's the main thing. Yeah, you know.
Put Laois Hurling first.
Absolutely,
You know, and apologise behind the scenes and move on.
Yeah, move on if we can. Yeah.
This is it, and hopefully on to an even better 2021 for Laois Hurling.
Please God. Yeah.
So for our viewers, I hope you enjoyed our chat here with Ricky. Ricky, thanks for taking the time out on a wet, windy Saturday night.
So what else would I be doing now, John, on a Saturday night?
Well, I tell you what, it was
I could be watching the Masters, all right.
There is that. Yeah. Did you see Shane Lowry's putt?
I did. It was actually it was a chip, was it?
It was a chip, yeah. He rolled in. It's just stuff.
Yeah, he's playing well. He's 500 there at the moment, so he's going well.
Fingers crossed.
Fingers crossed. Yeah.
Laois winner, or Offaly. We'll claim him.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, he's one of ours, really.
Yeah, he's a good one. In fairness to him, yeah.
He's a good one. So, Ricky, thanks for taking the time out. Have a great weekend, and hope you and yours are well and stay well.
Same to you, John. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the call, John. Cheers.
No problem at all. And bye, viewers.